A rich father told his 8-year-old daughter to choose her next mother from 5 elegant women. By sunset, the child was clinging to the housekeeper, not because of pity, because of truth. Because love leaves evidence if you know where to look. The chandelier sang when the crystal flute hit the marble. Shards skated across the floor of Magnolia Sound, a riverfront estate just outside Savannah. Evelyn Price watched the housekeeper kneel to gather each piece with steady hands. She should not be in this room, Evelyn whispered to the others. Her smile did not reach her eyes. Maya Brooks kept working. No flinch, no apology for being seen. The glass had been knocked over at lunch by one of the 5 guests who had arrived to compete for a title that felt like a prize and a burden at the same time. New wife to Adrian Cole. New mother to Lily. Adrian was a widower who built logistics software that moved cargo from port to porch. He could buy silence, but he could not buy sleep. Lily had not slept through the night since the accident last year. The plan did not start in his heart. It started in his therapist's office. Let Lily live beside 5 different women for a month. Let Lily see manners and habits and pressure. Then let Lily choose. On paper, the candidates looked like the weather report for a cloudless day. Sarah Keene, corporate attorney with a perfect record in court. Dr. Celeste Ward, dermatologist to the coastal elite. Nora Fields, architect of 3, gubernatorial estates. Lauren Vale, hotel heiress with 1,000 rooms and 1,000 opinions. Evelyn Price, foundation darling and party host whose last name opened gates without a knock. All white, all wealthy, all certain. They understood a child they had met yesterday. Maya had worked at Magnolia Sound for only 3 months. 29. Degree in early childhood education from Florida A&M, former public school teacher. Now a cleaner again to pay for her mother's treatments. She did not ask to mother anyone. She cooked breakfast, labeled containers, and taught Lily to plant basil in a clay pot with her name scratched into the side. Someone else noticed. Dad, why are they mean to Maya? Lily had asked that morning from behind Adrian's office door. Her voice had the kind of honesty that pulls truth out of hiding. Adrian heard the fear under the question. He heard something else too. He heard the return of nightmares he thought they had finally outrun. He had the cameras for security. He had the microphones because love had responsibilities. He told himself it was only to understand why Lily's smiles were shrinking again. The house listened. It remembered. It kept a record. The women did not know that the air had ears. They mistook quiet for absence. They mistook a uniform for emptiness. They mistook a child's affection for a game they could steer. That girl needs to learn her place early, Sarah said last night when they believed no one could hear them. Nora nodded, pleased with her own certainty. Proximity to the help creates confused expectations. She should be attaching to one of us. Lauren did not pretend. Say it clearly. A black cleaning lady is taking the emotional space that should be ours. They did not say Maya's name. They said role words. They said class words. They used soft phrases like rugs that hide stains. Maya had grown up in houses like this without ever owning a key. Her mother cleaned bedrooms that looked like magazines and hid exhaustion like it was shame. Maya learned the language of power before she learned algebra. She knew every euphemism. She knew every kind smile that carried a warning. She knew that some knives are silver. At 14, she watched her mother lose a job after 20 years because the boss's son had laughed too freely in her presence. The reason offered was not performance, it was placement. Know your place. Maya bowed her head now for the same reason boxers cover their ribs, not to surrender, to choose the round. If patience has a scent, it smells like lemon oil and warm bread. By late afternoon, the game moved to the library. Dark wood, tall windows that gave the marsh a mirror. Evelyn gathered the others where she believed walls would protect words. We need to be strategic, she said, checking the angle of her diamond earrings in the reflection. Outside, Maya drew chalk squares on the patio and taught Lily to hop, without losing balance. That woman is shaping the child in ways that are not aligned with this family's standing. I have reviewed policies, Sarah said, opening a leather notebook with tidy tabs. Cultural incompatibility is a legitimate basis for dismissal in Georgia. We call it FIT, no legal exposure if we document drift from household standards. Celeste laughed softly. The problem is not policy. The problem is optics. Affection looks untidy when it comes from the wrong direction. Nora did not look at the marsh. She looked at her phone. Then we correct direction. We remind the child where to place her loyalty. Lauren closed the circle. We collect moments. We write a report. We remove her. Clean and professional. They congratulated themselves for their restraint. They called this kindness. They forgot the house listened. They forgot the child watched. They forgot that people who move quietly can also move powerfully. Maya knew none of this meeting. She knew the smell of melting butter and the sound of Lily's laugh when the hopscotch pebble landed on a 10. She took cookies from the oven and placed them on a cooling rack. She cut butterfly shapes because Lily loved wings. Lily ran toward the kitchen with chalk on her knees. Evelyn intercepted her halfway. How about something more sophisticated? Evelyn said, stepping into Lily's path with the grace of someone who always expects others to stop first. I brought a chess set from Paris. I don't play chess, Lily answered, trying to pass. That is why you must learn, Sarah added, easing in from the side to block the hallway. Intellectual games build elite minds. Maya taught. Me checkers yesterday, Lily said. It was not defiance. It was fact. She said any game can help you think if you pay attention. Celeste's smile did not touch warmth. Sweetheart, there are different kinds of games. Some fit certain people better. The kitchen door opened. The room smelled like sugar and browned edges. Maya walked in with a tray. Cookies are ready, Lily, she said, gentle and bright. You made butterfly ones like you promised? I did. And there are extras for after dinner if you save room. Evelyn watched the exchange the way a person watches a locked door that refuses to open. Irritation rose like heat. Maya, she said, using the name as if it were a sour fruit. Do you think you are taking on too much with Lily? We are here to guide her development. Maya's eyes softened. Her back stayed straight. I follow Mr. Cole's instructions, she said. Keep Lily fed, keep Lily safe, help Lily smile. Lauren stepped closer. Her tone had the smoothness of hotel marble. Feeding and bonding are different. Professional distance matters. I understand, Maya answered. Caring for a child means giving what is needed when it is needed. Nothing more, nothing less. It was polite. It was precise. It was a line drawn in thread that could still cut. Upstairs, Adrian watched the footage. He saw manners weaponized, as if courtesy were a blade. He saw adults crowd a hallway to redirect a child from joy to performance. He saw Maya refuse insult without spilling a single crumb of dignity. He also saw something worse. He saw small acts of sabotage that were easy to miss if you were not looking. A book moved from Lily's desk to the laundry nook to spark confusion. A lunchbox placed on the wrong shelf to invite blame. A whisper outside Lily's door about people who do not understand their lane. None of it was loud. All of it was calculated. Adrian had hired a private investigator to vet the women before they arrived. That was routine. Donations, board seats, holiday cards. Nothing rang alarms then. Now he called Jonah Reed again. Higher scope, deeper search. The house had ears. Jonah had maps. Night fell soft over the river. Mosquitoes tapped the screens like tiny strangers. In her small room above the carriage house, Maya dialed a number she knew by heart. Tess, she whispered. I need help. Her sister, Tessa Brooks Carter, produced investigations for a national newsroom in Jacksonville. She heard the tightness in Maya's voice in the first breath. She did not ask if it was serious. She asked how serious. They want me gone, Maya said. Not because of performance, because Lily likes me. Because I am me. Who are they? Tess asked. Maya named each woman. She named each remark. She named each move. She did not dramatize. She documented. "Do you want to fight?" Tess asked. "Because this will be a fight. I want Lily safe," Maya said. That answer told Tess everything she needed to know. She opened a laptop. She began tracing board minutes and court filings. She wrote queries that had teeth. Back in the main house, the 5 candidates did not sleep. They met in pairs and trios behind closed doors. They turned care into casework. They framed warmth as breach. "Document every misstep," Evelyn instructed, in Lauren's suite. "Every boundary crossed, every tender moment that looks like manipulation on paper." Sarah displayed a draft on her screen. "Allegations include inappropriate influence, violation of family privacy, emotional entanglement that complicates future attachment to a stepmother." Celeste said the quiet part in a soft voice. "I can add concerns about psychological impact." "I know the language that carries weight." Nora and Lauren exchanged a satisfied look. They believed the story belonged to them. They believed reputation would drown truth. They believed the river only flowed one way. Maya cleaned Adrian's office at noon the next day and saw the printer light blink. A report sat in the tray. Her name pulsed across the header like a warning signal. She read while the printer hummed its small mechanical heartbeat. It accused her of things she would never do. It dressed Care in clothes that did not fit. It used big words to paint a small lie. Calm moved through her like steady tide. She remembered being 14 and watching a door shut on her mother's career with a sentence about propriety. She remembered promising that she would never again be surprised at the point where power and fear meet. That night, Maya made another call. "Dr. Ruiz," she said when the line connected. "Maya," came the warm reply. "What do you need?" "An independent evaluation, quiet, thorough, focused on Lily's emotional well-being and her grief recovery." Dr. Helena Ruiz taught child development at Coastal State and consulted on separation trauma. She had supervised Maya's capstone years. Hagoen had told her she had the rare gift of patience that children can feel even when they cannot name it. "We can do this," Dr. Ruiz said. "It must be discreet. It must be precise. It must be undeniable," Maya answered. "Yes," Dr. Ruiz said. "Undeniable." Morning returned with the kind of brightness that hides trouble. The candidates lined up their smiles at breakfast. Lily counted blueberries in her bowl. Adrian poured coffee and listened for the things people say without words. The river kept its own counsel. The house kept its tapes. The women kept going. They were polite when Lily was near. They were sharp when she was not. "Why do the ladies dislike Maya?" Lily asked that evening. Forks paused. China quieted. "What a strange question," Evelyn said with a gentle tone that did not match her eyes. "We like everyone." "That is not true," Lily said. "I heard you say she does not know her place." Adrian felt the floor tilt. The candidates stared at napkins. Everyone waited for someone else to speak first. "Adults talk in ways that sound different to children," Sarah began. Adrian did not look at Sarah. He looked at Lily. He looked at Maya. He looked at the places where blame tries to hide. Something had shifted. He felt it. His decision to watch had become a duty to act, but plans were still forming on both sides of the river. In a bedroom down the hall, the candidates refined their approach. They wanted a show of incompetence. They wanted a moment so clear that even a careful man could not ignore it. They chose a target with a soft body and a name stitched across the chest. They chose the one thing that still smelled like Lily's mother. They chose the bear. Night crept across the marsh. The lights of cargo ships slid along the horizon like slow stars. The house exhaled. The cameras blinked their patient blink. Maya sat by her window and wrote a list. What Lily needs. What I can give. What I will not allow. She folded the paper and placed it under her pillow like something sacred. She did not pray for an easy day. She prayed for a clear one, the kind that shows people who they are. And morning came. The room was already in motion. So was the plan. Morning wore a clean face. Under it, Something sharp waited. Breakfast smelled like cinnamon and calm. Lily counted the raisins in her oatmeal. Maya poured milk and asked about the basil plant on the patio. The 5 guests traded pleasantries that landed like feathers and felt like stones. They had already moved the bear. It was soft and worn at the ears. A gift from Lily's mother the spring before. The accident. Its ribbon still held a trace of her perfume. It slept on Lily's pillow most nights like a guard that understood grief. Now it sat in a closet where it did not belong. They chose the closet over the garage, close enough to be found, far enough to blame. Late morning, Evelyn made the discovery, with theatrical surprise. She called for Lily in a voice made sweet for the stage. The others gathered without being asked, as if pulled by a wire. "Look what I found," Evelyn said, lifting the bear from the shelf with 2 careful fingers. In the employees' room. The word employees did not sound like people. It sounded like a warning. Lily's breath hitched. She looked at the bear. She looked at Maya. Maya stepped forward, steady as a tree. She did not reach for the bear. She did not defend herself with fast words. "I did not take it," she said to Lily. "Someone put it there. I do not know who. I do know this. I would never take what is yours." Her voice was plain. It held the weight of a promise. Sarah tilted her head with practiced concern. "Children misplace things. Adults do too. Confusion happens." Celeste knelt to be eye level with Lily. "Sometimes people take things that are not theirs, not out of hate, out of envy. It is a very human flaw." The line carried poison that did not raise its voice. Lily looked at the ribbon on the bear. Tears gathered without sound. "Did you leave him in that room?" Sarah asked. Lily shook her head. "He sleeps on my bed." Adrian watched from his office screen. His jaw tightened in a way that hurt. He rewound the footage once, then again. He saw small hands clutch empty sheets in the morning. He saw late-night footsteps enter the hall. He saw a door open that never opens by accident. He saw the bear pass from one set of hands to another. He did not move yet. He was done guessing. He would prove. Maya knelt and opened her arms without hurry. "I believe you," she told Lily. "Your heart knows what it knows." Lily stepped into the hug the way a tired swimmer finds a rock to stand on. Her fingers tightened into Maya's shirt. Her breathing slowed against a calm that did not bend. The room held still. The 5 women felt the shift and did not like it. They had wanted a scene. They had wanted protest and panic. They had wanted words that could be twisted into a shape that matched their report. They got grace instead. Grace refused to be weaponized. It made their cruelty look too loud. They retreated behind their smiles. The bear returned to the bed. The ribbon lay flat against cotton that smelled like safety. The plan did not stop. It just changed rooms. By noon, Adrian's calls were already moving. Jonah Reed widened his search. Court databases, licensing boards, grant disclosures, human resources settlements that hide in locked drawers until someone knows where to knock. Tess called Maya from a parking lot with bad reception and a clear voice. "I have threads," she said. "They are real." "Tell me the shape," Maya said. Evelyn diverted funds from a gala into a private donor consultancy. It was smoothed over with a resignation, not a rumor. Papers filed, numbers signed. Sarah's firm settled 2 labor complaints brought by house staff. The language is careful. The pattern is not. Celeste surrendered a license in one state 10 years ago after a malpractice action. She requalified elsewhere. It happens. It still matters. Nora's firm had an audit for billing irregularities tied to a public contract. No charges, heavy questions. Lauren paid 2 confidential settlements to former employees who alleged a hostile work setting based on race. Non-disclosure agreements all over it, the dates line up. Maya listened. She did not gloat, she did not savor. "Can you verify each item twice?" she asked. "Yes," Tess said. "Then I can verify them a 3rd time." "Thank you," Maya said. "I will keep Lily steady. You keep the record clean." Tess was quiet for a beat. You always were the brave one, she said. You just learned how to be quiet while brave. Lily taught me, Maya said. Children teach everything. Important. That afternoon, Dr. Helena Ruiz arrived under the guise of a home visit already on the calendar. There was no fanfare. She wore low heels and a soft scarf. She asked for a tour that included the rooms where Lily felt most herself. She did not diagnose, she observed. How Lily reached for Maya's hand without looking. How Maya responded with presence instead of noise. How grief showed up as stomach aches and went away faster when a certain person read aloud. How sleep returned when a lullaby kept the room at the same temperature as love. Your daughter is rebuilding, Dr. Ruiz told Adrian in a private corner of the sunroom as Lily drew at the table. She has formed a secure bond with Maya. It is protective. Removing that bond now would reopen wounds. Is the bond unhealthy? Adrian asked. No, Dr. Ruiz said. It is the opposite. It is the exact bond children form with primary figures who show up with consistency and care. It is the bridge from loss to trust. Will you document your findings? Adrian asked. I already have a protocol, Dr. Ruiz said. I will make it precise. Across the hall, the candidates compared notes with low voices and fast thumbs tapping on screens. Did you see how she inserted herself again? Evelyn said. She will cross a line soon, Sarah replied. Our record will show it. Celeste frowned. The child's effect is complicated. We can argue that attachment is being directed away from the father. It will sound clinical. It will carry weight. Nora added details to a draft without looking up. Lauren set reminders to forward it to Adrian at the perfect moment. They mistook paperwork for truth. They mistook degrees for character. They mistook timing for power. Adrian walked the long hall back to his office and felt a heat he had not allowed since the accident. Anger is a rough tool. He chose something sharper. He chose clarity. He cued the recordings that showed whispers behind warm tones. He clipped the moments that looked like nothing if you were not paying attention and everything. If you were. He flagged timestamps where class language wrapped itself around a child's name like a net. He called Jonah again. I will need sources for each item, Adrian said. Primary, if possible. I want it clean. You will have it, Jonah said. He called Dr. Ruiz. I will need a written evaluation and in-person testimony if it comes to that. I will stand where the child's needs stand, Dr. Ruiz said. He considered calling the 5 women to the study that night and letting the walls talk for him. He did not. Not yet. He wanted the table set with evidence no one could sweep to, the floor. Evening brought a thunderstorm that made the river look like hammered metal. Lily liked rain if someone named the shapes the drops made on the window. Maya named each shape and turned them into stories. The bear sat between them like a small moon that pulled the tide inside a child's chest toward calm. Why did they move him? Lily asked. Because they are scared, Maya said. Scared people do unkind things. That is not an excuse. It is a map. What kind of map? Lily asked. The kind that shows you where not to go, Maya said. Lily nodded. She understood more than people thought she did. Grief had made her older in ways no one wanted. Down the hall, the guests poured wine and spoke softly about optics and lineage and the way a household should look when seen from the street. They did not say the word fear. Fear does not like its name. They failed to see the current move. They believed tomorrow would look like today, only better for them. They were wrong. At dawn, the house felt different, not louder. It felt awake. Adrian dressed in a dark suit without a tie. He looked at the framed photo on his dresser of Lily on a carousel with her mother. He let the sorrow pass through. He did not push it down. He wanted to feel loss in his hands so he would remember who the day was for. In the kitchen, Maya kneaded dough. She did not always bake on weekdays. Today she did. Warm bread anchors rooms. It tells nerves what to do. Lily practiced reading out loud to the bear and did not stumble on the hard words. Her voice found a new confidence that surprised even her. She looked up at Maya and smiled like a sunrise choosing a window. Down the drive, a black sedan rolled to a stop. Jonah stepped out with a leather portfolio that had seen too many airport floors. Tess arrived a few minutes later in a compact car with a notebook and a heartbeat she kept steady by counting. Dr. Ruiz returned with a folder tied with cotton ribbon. She liked the ritual of it. It made people slow down when they opened important truths. Adrian walked to the library and looked at the long table. He had signed deals here. He had presented condolences here. Today, it would become something else. He sent a message to the 5 candidates. It was short. It was precise. Please meet me in the library at 10. They came. They wore their best, neutral faces. They believed this was the moment they would win. The rain stopped as the clock struck. Sunlight stepped into the room and touched the books like it had a witness roll. Adrian did not raise his voice. He did not perform. He told the story the house had recorded. Then he pressed play. They stood in a half circle around the long table. Adrian did not hurry. He began with a promise to Lily. Then he explained what the house had heard. He spoke with the calm of someone who had carried grief and knew its weight. He said he would not allow harm to wear good manners like a mask. He nodded to Tess. She opened her notebook. Her voice was steady. Evelyn Price. Funds from a charity. Gala moved through a private consultancy you controlled. The board accepted your resignation to avoid a public fight. Records are signed. Amounts are listed. The timeline is clear. Evelyn's smile hardened. That is a malicious reading of a complicated process. Jonah placed a folder on the table. It is not a reading. It is an audit trail. Tess turned a page. Sarah Keene. 2 staff complaints settled by your firm. The claims describe harassment and racial bias in hiring and assignments. The settlements are sealed. The pattern is not. Sarah kept her expression neutral. Non-disparagement clauses prohibit discussion. This is reckless. Jonah slid over another document. We are not discussing. We are presenting docket numbers and payment records, Tess continued. Dr. Celeste Ward. 1 license surrendered in another state after a malpractice action. You qualified again in Georgia. That happens. The facts still matter. Celeste folded her hands. I left that state to protect my patients from distraction. Patients needed protection from substandard procedures, Jonah said. The consent order states that in plain language. Nora Fields, Tess said. Your firm was audited for billing irregularities tied to a public architecture contract. The case closed without charges. The findings note serious discrepancies and a warning for future oversight. Nora did not look up. Competitors manipulate those reviews. This is politics. Lauren Vale, Tess said. 2 confidential settlements. Former employees alleged a hostile work setting based on race. The agreements are sealed. The dates line up with staff turnover at your hotels. Lauren drew a breath she hoped no one would hear. You are poisoning this room with half-stories. Adrian shook his head. These are not rumors. They are documents. But this meeting is not about your past alone. It is about your conduct here. He touched a remote. The library filled with voices that did not expect an audience. They heard the line about teaching a child her place. They heard the language about fit and culture. They heard the plan to collect moments and call care manipulation. They heard footsteps at night. They saw a door open. They watched hands place a bear where it did not belong. No one spoke. Adrian paused the screen on the frame where the ribbon brushed a sleeve. He did not name the hand. He did not need to. The color of the jacket said everything. Evelyn stared at the image and chose indignation. You recorded private areas without our consent. It is a violation. You were never promised privacy to plot harm, Adrian said. I installed microphones when Lily's nightmares returned. I did it to protect my child. I would do it again. Dr. Helena Ruiz stepped forward and placed her folder on the table. I evaluated Lily this week. She is healing. She has formed a secure bond with Maya Brooks. Removing that bond would destabilize her recovery. It would increase anxiety. It would return sleep disturbances. The relationship is healthy. It is protective. I will stand by this conclusion anywhere I am asked. Celeste managed a thin smile. One expert's view can be debated. Not this one, Dr. Ruiz said. Because I brought data. And because I watched the child choose calm with my own eyes. From the doorway, Lily appeared. She had heard her name and followed it like a thread. She did not look at the guests. She looked at Maya. She ran into her arms and stayed there with the relief of someone who has reached shore. The room's power rewrote itself in that small movement. Adrian let the moment stand. Then he spoke to the 5 women. You saw a uniform and made a story out of it. You mistook access for virtue. You mistook polish for kindness. You mistook a child for a prize. He turned to Maya. Maya Brooks has a degree in early childhood education from Florida A&M. She trained under Dr. Ruiz. She worked with children who carried more sorrow than any room should hold. Her references describe steadiness, patience, and a way of speaking that turned storms into lessons. Evelyn tried once more. Think of your position, Adrian. Think of appearances. Think of the future you want for your daughter. I am thinking of her future, Adrian said. I am choosing people who protect it. He faced Maya. He did not deliver a speech. He said the words he meant. You kept my daughter safe when my judgment was clouded by grief. You taught her to sleep again. You told her the truth with gentleness. You did the same for me. Will you marry me? Silence held its breath. Maya looked at Lily. Lily nodded and smiled in a way that was almost a laugh. Yes, Maya said. I will. Lily's joy filled the room like light. She hugged them both and spoke into Maya's shoulder with her voice, half laughter and half tears. You are my mom now. Evelyn's face went pale. Sarah's composure cracked at the edges. Celeste stared at the carpet as if it might offer a solution. Nora searched for a line to salvage status. Lauren looked toward the door and saw no exit that saved face. Tess closed her notebook. Jonah gathered the folders. Dr. Ruiz secured the ribbon on her evaluation. Adrian addressed the 5 with the same even tone he had used since the meeting began. You are no longer welcome in this house. You will receive a formal notice by the afternoon. My counsel will file actions for conspiracy and defamation. The recordings and documents you heard will be introduced as evidence. If you contact my staff or my daughter, I will seek protection orders. Evelyn lifted her chin. You are making an enemy of people who can make life difficult. I am protecting my child, Adrian said. Make your choices. They left without their usual noise. The gravel outside marked each step. Phones began to ring before they reached the gate. Tess glanced at Maya. Do you want this reported? She asked. You decide the shape. Maya nodded once. Report what matters. Protect Lily's privacy. Name what they did to people who cannot hire cameras. Tess understood. She would write about patterns, not gossip. She would write about systems, not outfits. She would write with receipts. Dr. Ruiz turned to Maya. I am proud of you, she said. You stood still in a storm and did not let it name you. Maya exhaled for the first time in hours. Lily taught me how, she said. The day did not end with speeches. It ended with a simple dinner. Bread torn by hand. Soup that steamed. Laughter that sounded new in the high ceilings. Later, Adrian and Maya spoke on the back steps while the marsh flashed with fireflies. I failed to see it clearly at first, he said. I brought harm into our home because it wore the right clothes. You corrected fast, Maya said. That is what matters. I want to do more than correct, he said. I want to build. So do I, Maya said. But we will build from Lily outward. He nodded. From Lily outward. The next morning brought calls from boards and firms and families who wanted to get ahead of a story that had not yet aired. People who had once praised the 5 candidates began to ask careful questions. Contracts paused. Invitations vanished. Consequences arrived like a tide that looks slow until it pulls you off your feet. Maya rose early as always. She brewed tea for her mother, who would soon move into a sunny room on the 2nd floor. She wrote a list of ideas for a program she had long dreamed about, a place where children who had lost a parent could learn music and art without cost. She named it quietly in her head and did not tell anyone yet. She wanted to hold the name close until it was ready. Lily practiced her scales on a small keyboard placed near the window. She hummed a tune that did not exist last week and smiled at the way notes could be brave. Adrian stood in the doorway and watched both of them. He thought about the library, and the table, and the voices that had tried to shape his child's heart. He thought about the woman who had stood between harm and a girl without raising her voice. He thought about the future he wanted, not glossy, not loud, steady and honest. He took a breath that reached all the way down. The house felt different again, not guarded, grounded. And the story did not stop at the gate. It was just beginning to move through a city that loves a headline, and also sometimes loves the truth. The fallout would be loud. The growth would be quiet and strong. What came next would test reputations and build a family that had already chosen each other, and the record of it would sit in places that last longer than gossip. The city loved rumors. It learned to love documents more. By Monday, Tess's report went live with names and numbers that could be checked. It spoke about patterns, not parties. It lifted voices of workers who had been told to be grateful and quiet. It kept Lily out of the story. It kept the focus where it belonged. Boards called emergency sessions, donors paused transfers. A hospital committee reopened the file with Celeste's consent order and asked why it had been ignored. A civic panel reviewed Nora's public contract and demanded a corrective plan before any new bids. Lauren's hospitality brand started fielding questions from partners who had never asked about culture before and suddenly cared about culture more than marble lobbies. Sarah's firm sent an internal memo about values that sounded careful and late. Evelyn's foundation lost a venue for its next gala in a single afternoon. The five called one another and used the word unfair. The record used the word true. Adrian's counsel filed actions for conspiracy and defamation with exhibits that did not tremble. The recordings spoke for themselves when entered into the record. The frame of the bear passed under a courtroom projector. No one argued context. The ribbon said enough. In a different building, Dr. Ruiz presented her evaluation to a guardian ad litem who had read the file and looked tired. The expert described restorative bonds. She explained what security looks like when it is real, and how children carry calm in their bodies when a caregiver shows up the same way across hard days and easy days. The guardian nodded. The note on the form was short. Maintain stability. The story did not become a spectacle in the Cole house. It became a plan. Maya called her mother and asked about paint colors for an upstairs room that got the morning sun. She called the piano tuner. She called a caterer who knew how to feed people in a way that feels like grace rather than display. The wedding happened on a quiet Saturday under live oaks that held the air like old friends. Vows were simple. Adrian promised to build a home where love is not measured by appearances. Maya promised to keep telling the truth in ways a child can understand. Lily promised to keep watering the basil and to remind everyone to breathe when storms come. They ate warm bread and fish from the river, and a cake that tasted like vanilla and relief. No speeches. No photographers. Only witnesses who knew how to look without taking. The week after, Maya filed paperwork for a small nonprofit she had imagined at night for years. She named it Riverlight, a place where kids who had lost a parent could learn music and painting and storytelling for free. A place where guardians could sit with counselors while the kids made something bright with their hands. Dr. Ruiz joined as clinical advisor. Tess helped structure the governance so that money served mission and did not wander. Adrian wrote a check to start and then promised to step back so the work would not be confused with charity or control. The five did not vanish from the world. They met their consequences without a spotlight they could manage. Evelyn faced a full audit that documented her consultancy siphon. The board removed her, and the venue change became permanent. Sarah took unpaid leave while her partners reviewed a pattern that had been expensive to hide and now was more expensive to ignore. Celeste resigned from a local medical society after the consent order reached the front page. She moved her practice to a smaller suite and filed to complete additional training. Nora lost a state bid that would have been the crown of her firm's next year. She explained the loss as politics. Her staff knew better. Lauren sold 2 properties to meet investor demands after her settlements surfaced. She posted a note about committing to inclusion. She hired a consultant who warned that statements without change become proof against you later. None of this lifted the bear's ribbon from the footage. None of it mattered to Lily's sleep more than the fact that Maya was still there. Time did what time does. It made space for roots. A year passed. Then another. Magnolia Sound filled with different sounds. Scales from a practice room. Laughter that began sooner. A baby's cry at dawn that reset the house's rhythm and somehow made it gentler. They named him James. He liked the motion of the river and the steady drum of a washing machine and the way Lily read to him with a seriousness that made him giggle. Lily learned piano first, then cello, then a little guitar because she wanted to write songs for Riverlight. She taught other kids the hopscotch game Maya had shown her on a day when life felt heavy and needed something light. Maya finished her graduate work part-time with scholarships she never dreamed she would receive. She wrote a paper with Dr. Ruiz on grief and creative practice in children. It helped a school district redesign how it supported kids after loss. A teacher in a crowded classroom wrote to Riverlight and said a boy had lifted his head during art for the first time in months. Adrian kept building software that moved freight more efficiently. He also learned to move slower at home. He made breakfast more often than before. He picked up toys without making a speech about order. He told Lily he was wrong the day he had, filled the house with the wrong people, and that learning to see clearly is a kind of strength too. One afternoon, a journalist asked Adrian if marrying the housekeeper had damaged his standing among people who measure their lives with invitations. He laughed. Not to be clever, to be honest. My standing with my daughter is all I count, he said. Everything else is noise. The reporter tried another angle about difference in status. Adrian shook his head. My wife is the most educated person in this house about what my child's heart needs, he said. She runs a program that serves kids I will never meet. She speaks to them in a language that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with presence. If that troubles anyone, they can keep their distance. Maya watched the clip later while James napped. She smiled at how plain the truth sounds when you stop polishing it. Lily saw the smile and leaned on her shoulder. You made the house different, Lily said. We all did, Maya said. We chose what stays. Riverlight grew without noise. A local orchestra donated used instruments. A retired painter taught on Tuesdays. A grief group met in a room with low chairs and a window that looked at water. They taped children's drawings along the hallway. Boats with names, trees with roots, faces with open eyes. Sometimes people who had once laughed at Maya sent checks. They wrote notes with careful apologies that did not ask for absolution. Maya accepted the funds and used them to buy more art supplies. She accepted the notes and placed them in a file she did not show to anyone. She believed in change. She also believed in memory. One evening, as the sun dropped and the marsh turned the color of copper, Lily played a song she had written. She called it Riverlight because names matter. The melody rose and fell like tide, and Maya felt how grief and joy can sit in the same room when you give them both a chair. Adrian stood behind them and listened without speaking. When the song ended, Maya kissed Lily's hair and thought about the library on that hard day, and how the air had felt heavy with pretense. She thought about the bear and the ribbon and a hug given without hurry. She thought about what won. Not anger, not spectacle. Steadiness won. Love that keeps its shape won. People will tell you revenge is fire. Sometimes it is a garden. It is the basil pot on the sill. It is a child who sleeps. It is a door that stays open because the people inside have nothing to hide. If you have ever been told to know your place, remember this. You can choose it. You can make it wide. You can fill it with music and small hands and work that matters more than anyone's opinion of you. The tide will keep coming. Let it find you standing where you chose to stand. That is the end of this beginning.